Good afternoon, everybody. It's 3 o'clock, so we can now start this webinar. Welcome to the second last episode of Clusters 2.0 series of webinar. I'm Anarita Leserri. I'm Communication and Dissemination Manager in Clusters 2.0. Today, I will also be your questions manager. So today with me, I have several experts that will talk about clusters community system. So here with me, I have Giuseppe Dall'Asta from Interporto Bologna, Massimo Bagozzi from VBA Lab, Valentina Boschian from Autorità Portuale di Trieste. I invite the speakers to share the cameras so that they can welcome the audience as well. Very well. So once again, thank you for being here and taking the time to join us. Before I give the floor to the audience, to the speakers, I would like to quickly introduce this tool that we're using today, GoToWebinar, so that you can take full advantage of it. So first of all, please be aware that all attendees are muted by default and we can't hear you. But you're very welcome to send your questions at any time using the questions pane that you will find on your right. Again, you can use it at any time. The pane will be open throughout the webinar. As soon as the questions come, I will forward them to the speakers. There will be a dedicated time of questions and answers after the panelist discussion. This will last roughly 30 minutes. Also, in your control pane on your right, you will find a tab that's called Handouts. This is interesting material for you to download at any time. So you will find also an introduction. You will find this presentation, also Clusters 2.0 introduction, and also a data protection statement. Please be aware that this webinar will be recorded. However, none of your personal details, no voice, no image will be disclosed. After this webinar, you will receive a follow-up email with the links to every possible useful material. So you will receive the presentation deck that will also be uploaded online. Also the recording of this webinar. I invite the speakers to mute themselves, please. Also, you're very welcome to follow us on website and social media channels. So we have Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And that's the very end of my presentation. As I promised, it was a very quick one. Here's my contact in case you want to send me some questions or suggestions or comments. So now, without further ado, I would leave the floor to Giuseppe Dall'Asta. Thank you for your attention and talk to you later. Giuseppe, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. Giuseppe, I can see your screen, but I can't hear you.
Okay, now
I can hear you.
Fine.
Thank
So,
you.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks, Anarita, for the introduction. I'm Giuseppe Dall'Asta, and I work for Interporto Bologna. Okay, I'm here to present what has been done within Cluster Project, and especially within Activity 2 of the Cluster Project and one of the Living Lab. I was focused on the Proximity Terminal Network and Cluster Community System. I will try to, in my presentation, to give you a general overview of the activity done during the project and the concept developed, and some quick and general introduction to the solution developed, as well as of the business case used for the Living Lab. Then I give the floor to my colleague Massimo for further detail on that. So within Cluster 2.0, we were part of leading Work Package 2 activities that has 4 main objectives. One was the setting up and develop the framework and condition for an efficient coordination of logistic clusters. The second objective was focused more on introducing the concept and implement the concept of proximity terminal network. I will spend a few words later on that. The idea was to increase engagement, performances, and coordination between neighboring terminals that are part of a logistic cluster. The other objective was to develop a tool, an NIT tool, that can enable the management of a logistic cluster in a very flexible and efficient way. Then the fourth objective of the activity was focused on, once the tool has been developed, to introduce and put in this tool the contents, okay, the proper contents in order to enhance the collaboration within a logistic cluster. So what is the logistic cluster? I think all of you know that. And here you have some graphical representation of what is a proximity terminal network and where it is placed within a logistic cluster. So in our project, we had the involvement of 2 proximity terminal. One was Interporto Bologna, and I will go to present later the node, and the other neighboring terminal was Piacenza hub. So those 2 terminals are very close one each other, like 130 kilometers. They are in the same region, and so they can be considered neighboring terminal, proximity terminals, okay? So the idea was to establish a collaboration and a network between them. And each one of the 2 terminals has a proper network and cluster of connecting terminals. So the idea was to create this link between these 2 regional terminals and link to another terminal, external terminal, to create a cluster. And this was done with the Trieste port. So as you can see, a proximity terminal can be considered as a regional network of intermodal terminals that are part of logistic cluster, okay? So, and the main aim is to create synergies and improve synergies between those 2 terminals in order to improve the freight planning and execution of the freight flows coming and exiting the region. As I said before, there was the NIT tool that has been developed within Cluster 2.0 project, and it was the Clux.
Giuseppe, can you
Yes.
hear me? I'm sorry to interrupt. Apparently, our audience can see the control pane. Can you please click on the red arrow so that
Okay, sorry for that.
On the right? Good. Very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. The Clux, meaning Cluster Community System tool, has been developed within upon a specific concept. Here is the summary of the main concept behind the tool that has been developed, and it will be presented to you. So the idea was to create an NIT platform able to support the governance of proximity terminal networks and their aggregation and clusters. Then, secondly, the idea was to boost the visibility of the services offered by each node and by logistics service provider operating in each node. I must say that this is a really important point, also because the original aim was the cluster is born to try to put in place what is the philosophy of physical internet. And one of the first milestone that the physical internet set, especially for nodes, is to improve and reach the full visibility of the services offered. So I can say that this solution is very much in line with the physical internet roadmap. Then the solution can enables the efficient management of information, both in terms of cargo flows and in terms of assets, when we come to coordinate resources within different proximity terminal in a network. Allows the coordinated management of multiple hubs, as we said in the first point. So in a proximity terminal network and in a cluster, you can have multiple hubs with different specialization and characteristics. And this solution allows a coordinated management of those hubs. Also, it is very also oriented towards the manufacturing and the industries and the shippers. Okay, so the solution permits the shippers and the manufacturers and the industry to, in a more flexible way and an easy way, to find the right solution they may need concerning when it comes for logistics services. It creates the synergies, foster the creation of synergies between nodes and clusters that may belong to different NT corridors. And last, but it permits the coordination and collaboration between, as I said, neighboring and regional terminals. So it's really much focused on proximity terminal networks and cluster management. Very quick, the main components of the CLAC solution are has two main dimension. One is the communication infrastructure, and my colleague will detail better on that. So there is a secure exchange of messages and also an easy user backend and integration to connectors. So it's easy to be connected to the CLACs and easy to use. Concerning the usage and the web interface that is provided to the end user, it can be used for the publishing of paths and timetables, so scheduling of logistic services, then possibility to search and book for logistic services, and then there are two other functions that have been enabled and can be supported. One is concerning the cargo consolidation, because one of the main goals also of this solution in the future is to foster the cargo consolidation between proximity nodes in order to reduce and better organize their resources and reduce the road traffic, and also the cargo pooling. Okay, this is a quick schema representing the business scenario behind, was at the basis of the Libyan Lab for objective of the CLACs. So the two regional terminal, as I said before, the proximity terminal network was composed by Interporto Bologna as a central node and Piacenza as a proximity terminal. And then Trieste was the third point that was involved in this cluster. So there was shipper involved, terminal operators, logistics service provider, and MTOs has been involved in the demonstration of this solution. The first node, central node, was Interporto Bologna, is one of the main, one of the biggest logistic hub in Italy, with more than 4 million square meters total surface, and having 3 intermodal terminals with 320 square meters of rail facilities. The other actors involved was the Piacenza hub and GTS company as a logistics service provider. GTS is one of the leading companies in Italy when it comes to intermodal transport. The port terminal operator involved in during this project was EMT, one of the terminal operator managing the multipurpose terminal in Trieste, and they were involved and connected to the clocks with their terminal operating system, and also Trieste Port Authority that I have no need to present the Trieste the port, since it's now is the most important port in Italy, and they were involved with their system in this in the development of the clocks. So I try to be very short because I leave the floor now to my colleague Massimo to allow him to go for more technical detail.
Okay, good afternoon to all. Thank you, Giuseppe. Just a moment, I start the presentation. And okay. Okay, so Giuseppe has presented.
Massimo, again, I'm sorry to step in. It's just I can see your control pane on your screen. Would you please remove that?
Yeah, sure. Okay. It's good so?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just to be brief, the point that we are going to see during this presentation, the cluster design and architecture design, the interoperability that we have implemented with GTS node and MT terminal, and the interaction with Sinfomat, that is the port community system of Trieste, and with the X Intermodal platform by PTV. In our demo, we have a part of a live demo where I will show the interaction with X Intermodal, and also offline we will see the interaction with MT terminal and the interoperability with Sinfomat. Later, Valentina Boschiana will explain better the development that was done on the side of port community system of Trieste. So, to realize, to implement a proxy terminal network, basically, we need to connect many nodes, and to do it, we adopt the access point technology because each node, each system already use an application, and the access point permit to connect many nodes using a common language, and thanks to the adoption of a connector, each backend system could be connected and join the cluster system. In this image, we can see in the left side the GTS system, in the right side the terminal operating system used by MT, and thanks to the connector, it can connect to the Sinfomat Trieste port community system, and also to the access point to join the network of the cluster. In the bottom of the screen, we see the cluster web application. That is the central application where all the service can be published and then consumed by the stakeholders. Also, the cluster is connected through the connector with the X Intermodal PTV platform. If we go a little bit deeper in the design implementation, this figure show the connection between two nodes, and to implement the access point, we have adopted the software Domibus developed by European Commission. The connector instead is the component that should be implemented to permit the connection between the backend system and the access point, was developed using Spring technology and is divided in many layers. The data layers, of course, for the storage and the data access. The business logic that in process the request or the message that are received by access point technology. A service layer that enable the connection between the access point and the backend system, and a communication layer that permit the access to the access point as a GMS consumer. Which process was developed for cluster? GTS and NIT are able to publish their service, the intermodal service. The backend system connect to access point and sends the service catalog to the cluster. With GTS, we implement only a simulator. With NIT, we developed a full integration with their terminal operating system. The services catalog is then received by cluster to access point technology and stored in the cluster center node. Now that the services are published on the cluster, the shipper can create a booking request via a web interface, providing details about cargo and dates. Cluster receive and elaborate booking request from shipper, and basing on the service request, route the request to the proper logistics service provider or node into the cluster. So then GTS or NIT accept or reject the intermodal service request and send a confirmation to the cluster. The cluster receives the booking confirmation and inform all involved stakeholders of the intermodal service confirmation. The other interoperability process developed was with the integration with Intermodal. Intermodal is a platform that works upper level than proximity terminal network and collect from the cluster all the services that are published by each node of the proximity terminal network. And Intermodal permits a better understanding of intermodal market, provide a quick overview of all intermodal lanes, and is able to calculate and compare alternative routes. And now, at this stage, cluster is able to send the train table to the Intermodal. In future, we would like to implement a bidirectional connection where Intermodal can send a book request to the cluster system. Another interesting interoperability connection that we have developed is with the port community system of Trieste, and the MT node is able to send to web service the train composition. Sinfomar validate this document that is basically a custom document, and provide the authorization for the departure of the train from MT. And after the approval of done by after the authorization, MT received the confirmation. Here we are seeing some screenshot from the port community system of Trieste, where we are seeing the train, a test train that was sent some time ago to port community system, and for each train we can see the list of the wagon and the intermodal transport unit that are loaded onto the wagon, and also the detail about crews. Now I will move to a live demo, and the first part of the demo, I will show the interoperability with PTV platform X Intermodal. So now I will move to the Okay, now I just reached the X Intermodal platform of PTV, and I perform
Massimo,
that.
I'm sorry again. I think I see, yeah, the black box that you're pointing at right now might be the GoToWebinar panel, control panel.
Yeah, I am on the
that one.
panel. Yeah.
Could you please close that?
Yeah, sure. Is better so?
Better. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay. So here I will find the list of the terminals or the route published by all the stakeholders that are joined with the PTV. And if I search, I can filter. As I can see, there are few connections already published from the cluster platform. These basically are the routes that are managed by the cluster platform and can be shared with the PTV X Intermodal platform. Now I will move to the cluster Unity system. Okay, basically I move to the part of the system that manage the train voyage schedule, and I can publish to the X Intermodal all the service, in this case the timetable of the train, managed by each node joining the cluster platform. So basically, there are two steps to do. The first is to delete the already published timetable, and then send the new one. So I proceed. At this moment, cluster platform is connected to the X Intermodal, and now I can send the timetable, or basically the service that are available in the cluster platform. Okay. Now I come back to the X Intermodal platform. I have to perform again the login. And now, if I search for cluster community system service, I found all the service that we are seeing previously in the cluster web application. So basically here, the idea is that provide a more visibility thanks to the Intermodal platform of the service managed by the cluster platform. And so potentially in the future, Intermodal can do booking requests contacting the cluster platform. Now I move to another demo where I prepare a short video to be quickly, and I will show you how is possible from a shipper to perform a service request. So basically, in each node of the cluster can publish their logistics service. In this screen, for example, we are seeing the cluster, the node of Trieste, MT, has published some vessel service to move to the Turkey. So the service type, vessel, the date of the voyage, the date of departure, and how many slots are still available and could be booked, and the destination. The system permits to research on all the service published. For example, we would search for destination, for Yalova, and we proceed with a booking request. Basically, from Bologna, currently there are no train connections, so the only transport mean available from Bologna to Trieste is by truck. So now the cluster receive the request, and through the access point technology is contacting the access point of MT node, and now the access point from Trieste has replied, and the request is in status pending. Now we move in the terminal operating system of MT, and so we are seeing a concrete integration with the terminal operating system. And there is a specific section of the application that, moreover than the train, vessel, road, ITU, and so management, permit the management of the booking request received through the access point. So we will see here the request of the ITU arriving by a truck, and the operator can confirm, reject, or modify the request. In this case, the operator checked the booking request. In this moment, the terminal operating system is connecting to his access point and sending to the cluster the reply to the request. And the request is accepted, and is perform the booking request. So basically, I show you the three main integration that we have developed. We have developed the integration between GTS node and MT with the cluster platform, and from the cluster platform to the Intermodal and to the PCS of Trieste. So thank you very much for your time, and my demo is completed. I pass the floor to Valentina of Port of the Trieste. Thank you.
Valentina, we can't hear you. I can see your screen, but I can't hear you. No, you just need to.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. I was just saying that very briefly, I will present the results we gained in the pilot case developed by the Trieste Port Authority. The main focus of our pilot case is within the CLAX cluster to develop and implement the so-called pre-arrival notification concerning the railway traffic. Just to better specify how the pilot ideas was born. Initially, we take the main goal of the pilot cases of the clusters project, that is
But Valentina,
mainly
I'm
to
sorry, me again.
Yes.
Maybe you just need to change the visualization settings. You're pointing at it because I can see yes, there it is. And I can
Is
also see the pane, the control pane, that one. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry for
Okay.
interrupting.
Okay. Yes, I was just as an introduction, I was just explaining how the pilot ideas was born. We translating the general goal of the pilot cases of clusters project, that is to enable faster and secure connection among business partners. We decide to translate this general goal in the realization of a very focused implementation. This idea comes from the full involvement of local actors. In particular, thanks to the involvement of MTO operating in the port of Trieste, we discovered that is a concrete need, also from the business point of view, related to the trade documental processes. And we verify that this need is common for all the actors in the port community, and therefore we organize a tender, and following this tender we reach the implementation of this module within our port community system. So the idea is to gain benefits for the node of the cluster represented by the Trieste port community. The context in which our realization has been implemented is what we call Sinfomar. Sinfomar is the port community system in use in the port of Trieste since 2014. This platform is open and free and involves all the operators, as well public and private, operating in the port of Trieste. So we can have the custom agency, harbor masters, railway operators, MTO, inland terminal operators, fleet operators, freight forwarders, and so on. Daily, all the operators in the port of Trieste are using our port community system. And therefore, our aim is to enhance this platform, answering the real needs that the operators explain us. In particular, since 2017, the port community system has implemented a module dedicated only to the railway traffic. And this module allows the operators to gain a lot of benefits. Just an example. Before these modules, to perform all the documental processes related to train arriving and departing from the port of Trieste, an operator needs 6-7 hours. After the implementation of this module in Sinfomar, 30-40 minutes are requested. And so you can imagine the benefits for the operators. In line with this strategy, we decided within Clusters project to strengthen this module by realizing three main activities, as you can see in this slide. The first one is the realization of what we call the pre-arrival notification for each single train incoming at the port of Trieste. This means that the pre-arrival notification initially was present in Sinfomar only for road transportation. We decided to take this concept and to move it also for the railway traffic. So this module foresees the creation of an overall pre-arrival notification for all the containers and goods to be loaded on a single train. And then the integration of the overall railway pre-arrival notification with the single pre-arrivals that are directly linked also to the road and maritime transportation. In this way, we can automate the import of data about the different logistic units. On the second activity, we realized a sort of management of document related to to support the composition of the CH30 document. The CH30 document is a sort of train manifest for the trains arriving and departing from the port of Trieste. This document is shared with the custom agency, and therefore we created a sort of database to organize and standardize all the documents that have to be uploaded. Finally, we consider the assignment of the different logistic units that compose trains leaving the port of Trieste, so the other way around, starting the processes directly from the custom manifest. This functionalities allows to assign the containers and vehicles to trains that are leaving the port of Trieste, directly selecting them in the cargo manifest, while a ship is arriving in the port. So my colleague Lorenzo, after my presentation, will show you some technical details directly using the port community system, Sinfomar. And just to conclude, I would like to highlight the benefits and the impact of this application. First of all, as I said, the railway module in Sinfomar enable us and the port community to better manage the documentation flows. And therefore, these results enable us to enhance these train-related services. And then the aim is also to foster the utilization of PCS Sinfomar as a single data collector, as a unique platform for the whole Trieste port community. This, at the end, allows the operators to avoid the exchange of data information in asynchronous mode, maybe data that are not correct, are not complete, doubled, and so on. And so finally, the final goal is to allow train agents and terminal operators to smoothly create trains using the PCS. So thank you for your attention. And now I will leave the floor to Lorenzo.
Hello?
Hello, Lorenzo, I can hear you.
No. Okay, I do not know how to share my screen here.
You
You are already seeing my screen, no?
No, we're not. You should try and click on the icon just beneath the camera. You can see there's a microphone,
Yeah.
camera, and then share your screen.
Okay, now you see?
Yes, now I can see that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your help. As Valentina explained you, for the pilot in the Trieste port area, we worked about the pre-arrival notice for the train component. So we worked about the possibility to reuse the data inserted by the customs broker or any other representative of the company while the train is arriving in Trieste, to be able to reuse this data in all the logistic chain. Now we will have a very fast walkthrough through the process of inserting a pre-advice, and after that to import the pre-advice inside a train manifest, which is mandatory in the Trieste port area. The same data is possible to be used in the vessel manifest as well, and all the logistic operation inside the port area of Trieste. So we will start from the insert of the pre-advice. This is quite fast. For obviously, we will see the manual insertion, while in the most use case, in the real world, there will be a machine-to-machine dialogue, but it is not possible to show a machine-to-machine dialogue in a demo. An operator who's representing any kind of consignment arriving in the port of Trieste through the train way is able to declare that about this consignment, entering in a web page available for all the users authenticated to the Sinfomar system, where they have to put some data, which is the declarant. Well, it is yourself. The multimodal transport operator, which is the train operator, let's say. The shipping agent for the multimodal train operator, we can put, I don't know, this is real production system, so we can use real data. The shipping agent is useful if you want to reuse your declaration for further declarations like vessel custom manifest. So shipping agents, we can put something like this. Custom broker, okay, I put that I am my own customs broker. We can put a train to help the MTO to identify where this consignment is arriving from. The booking number, which is useful for the vessel parts, now we can skip it. Tractor and trailer, because it is possible to have some roller trains where you have wheeling cargo. ILU code, vehicle type. Destination terminal, because it is very important for the Port of Trieste to know to which terminal this consignment belongs to. It is possible to manage documents. So it is possible to add PDF, Excel, or any kind of other documents to the declaration, which will be shared with the other involved operators in order to help them to declare data to the customs and other authorities without any queue or human interaction, which is quite a plus in a period like this COVID time. Container number, container type, we use always the international standards. So for the container type, we use the ISO 6346 declarations. For the goods, we use the HS code. For the dangerous goods, we use the UNDG, and we try to avoid to using new kind of coding. we can put the seal if a seal exists. Dangerous goods, HS code, weight, packages, custom documents, which is very important because when you enter the Trieste area, the Trieste port area, you are leaving the EU customs area. So we'll put an X. And saving it is enough to send an information to the other involved parties. Obviously, I can, as declarant, check the status of my declarations. Now my declaration is just inserted since it is not belonging to any train. In fact, here is written to be named. And let's say, as a declarant, I am waiting to see if my declaration is going to enter to the port area or to be declared to the port area. When now I switch to the view of a multimodal transport operator, which is going to declare the train data, so train compositions and units loaded onto the train. And we will see how, for a train declarant, is it possible to reuse this data. I can search for declared documents. Where I can find a lot of the declaration. Now we can see declaration inserted by me as well as declaration inserted by other operators, because we are already collecting declaration from other systems, where we collect information both from the pre-advice notice and from other sources. For example, we see a green traffic light on the far right of this screen, where we can see that we already got an information about the customs to be able to load this container on the train, to discharge this container from the train and to load it on the vessel. Sorry. I research with a few letters. For us, it's possible to then proceed to collect this information here and to import to the manifest. When I import to the manifest, I just have my container declared in the pre-advice. It's possible to import on the train. Here we have a real train with full of containers. For me, it's enough to bring it here, and it is on the train. And now we can proceed to declare using the controls here on the upper side of the screen to declare it to the authorities. Now I took it away because it is a real train. And it is possible to use it to declare to all the authorities involved in the traffic in the port area, which is customs, finance police, and port authority as well. The information is available to all the involved parties. That means all the economic operators which have any interest in this information. So, for example, I, as a declarant, will get by email the information the train entered inside the port area, and then I will get the information that my container has been loaded on the vessel. As well, the shipper, if I inserted the data at the pre-advised time, will be noticed of all the movement of the container. Most important, all the operators will be noticed about the stop of the shipment, like if there will be a customs visit. And this is a very fast walkthrough to the system to see how data are managed. So if you have no question, I finished.
Thank you, Lorenzo, and thanks to all the speakers for your presentations. And I would like now to welcome questions by the audience, if any. Good. So again, I would like to invite the speakers to turn on their camera so that they can best answer and address the audience's questions. So while we wait for some questions to come, I have a question as well. So what I get from your presentations that all the work that you've been doing during this project made the clusters that you're working in a smart one, and I think there's also a deliverable related to this smart cluster management. So what do you think makes a cluster smart? This is an open question actually, so whoever of you can reply.
Sorry, Enrique, I didn't got your question because I can hardly heard you. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, yes. Maybe there's some problem with my microphone. I'll try to get it closer. I was just wondering, at the end of the project, you know, after so many innovations and solutions, what do you think makes a cluster a smart one? What do you think it's needed for a logistic cluster to become smart?
You touched a quite open and wide topic, and a lot of work has been done also in the project here in that sense. I must say that as I recap my presentation before, so creating collaboration within a logistic cluster is really very ambitious objective, and making this collaboration smart is even more ambitious. I think that what we saw this afternoon, this webinar, so by put together the right players, so nodes, logistics service provider, shippers, talking together, working together, and providing them the right tools to do it in a flexible and in a very easy way. I think it can be considered really a goal in that sense.
Okay, thank you. I can see Valentina was trying to say something. Maybe Valentina.
Yes, Just to like to add one point. I don't think that smart means that is using a lot of technology, because technology is ready. The innovation is not related only to implementation of new tools related to technology, but is the usage that the operators, specifically in the logistics sector, can do of these tools. I mean, the new devices and so on. So I think that our focus has to be not which type of technology, if it is advanced or not, but how to give the possibility to all the operators, not only the larger ones, but to the smaller, to use smart tool. Only in this case, the cluster could be smart. So if it is organized as a system, and not if we are pointed only on technology, but a technology that can be really used by all the operators.
Okay, thank you, Valentina. And another question that I wanted to ask that was related to, I think, Lorenzo's presentation, that said that this tool is actually a plus. It's turning out to be a plus and advantage during this time of pandemic of COVID-19. So would you like to give more details about that? How do you think that cluster community system is an advantage during this time of confinement and social distancing?
I will answer on behalf of Lorenzo. I would like to say that our port community system enables all the port operators to work daily, also during this period. The port has never stopped, neither for 1 hour or 1 day. So the port community system is used as usual, and all the operators, since all the main documental processes are digitalized, all the operators can work as usual thanks to these tools.
Yeah, and I think that also remembering the presentation had, I think that a tool such as Klux can expand and enhance the visibility and the usage and the accessibility to different backend systems. As Valentina said, that during COVID time had work 24 hours a day. So in that sense, I think a tool that such as Klux can facilitate interaction and collaboration even in such tough period with the lockdown and impossibility to move to have physical interaction. So in that sense, I think that such system can be really of help in that direction.
Okay, thank you. We also have a question from the audience, and it's related to cost and sustainable benefits. So they say that the system developed is excellent, but what about cost and sustainability? So for example, Intermodal has costs and CO2 emissions, but how realistic are they?
Well, when it comes to cost, is always, of course, I don't have clear answer on that, but I must say that, of course, each IT solution, and especially when you have to connect different backends, there are some IT costs, of course. But if we look a bit further in a sort of balance of that, those costs can be much more lower than the benefits that a node or logistics service provider can get from being part of a system such Klux. Okay, I take you just an example on that. we had the experience here in Bologna and Emilia-Romagna that this concept of community of terminals is taking place. Okay, so there are some working groups. There is a working group of all the regional terminal that are starting talking together. And the main activity now is we are involved in is trying to establish new connection. Okay, maybe together with one or more regional terminals. I think that the solution such as Claxis can really much be of help in that activity, allowing a lot of savings in that sense. So looking for cargo flows for which kind of services other nodes can offer, the logistics service provider that can perform such, can run on different corridors, lines. So all these activities are, I think, quite expensive, and it takes a lot of time also for a single company or a single node to do it. And in that sense, I think this can be really help to a company. And then, of course, I can remember that as you said, there is also one of the main scope of that, and also the physical internet, to reduce and to improve intermodal transport. So as much as intermodal transport increased, you have other benefits from that. So
thank you. And I understand this is a complicated and complex issue. So we might go into details here, but it's not really the case for this webinar. So I encourage the audience to get to the speakers in case they want to receive more details also about cost and benefits. And all the speakers gave their contacts in their presentations. So you will soon receive them, and you can get in contact with us, and we will be able to reply more in a more detailed way. Thank you. So if there's no other question, I would like to thank you for your attendance, and I'll share my camera again so I can say goodbye. Here we go. So again, it was a pleasure having you today with us. Please be aware that this was the second last meeting of Clusters 2.0 series of webinar. So you're very welcome to join last one. It will be on the impact or the general impacts of the project and its solution, and also it will include all our effort in the frame of the European Green Deal. So it will be also a very interesting discussion. A big thank you again to the speakers for their cooperation. And I would like now to close this meeting, and hopefully I will see you during next webinar.
Thank you, Narita.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.